6 months have passed and the war-ravaged Afghanistan hasn't moved an inch forward when it comes to education, employment or women's rights. Several indices that determine the quality of life of people living in a particular country or region have shown a sharp negative growth in Afghanistan's case. While the unemployment rate was high even during Ashraf Ghani government, a large number of previously employed people too are finding it hard to make their ends meet. The rights have gone for a toss and the activists are increasingly worried about women who are yet to see a Taliban version that was promised during the negotiations.
A long shot of Kabul streets may deceive you into believing that everything is going fine in the war-ravaged country. The main market bustling with crowds, stalls set up by vendors. However, the ground reality is in sharp contrast with what a camera lens can capture. This week, Kabul marks 6 months of Taliban's return to power. And the situation has gone from bad to worse. People don't have sustenance options, with a large section of Afghan population being pushed into poverty. The West has consciously kept itself away from the situation, for they fear that an empowered Taliban might prompt the return of Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups. The commoners, however, continue to reel under an everyday growing misery.
تفاوتی که 6 ماهی که امارت اسلامی آمده کار باری ترا نیستک دیگه هم اگه چیز فراوان است ولی کار نیستک سابقه 6 ماه پیش از 6 ماه کار بار بود همه مردم کار بود از هر چیز بود حالا یک کمک ور کار بار مردم بیادر قند هر چیز فقر گشنگی و ترا زیادتر شده رهید.
The central bank funds have been frozen since the Taliban took over the country as foreign forces left in August last year. The frozen funding combined with sanctions and a drop-off in development funding have sent the country's economy into free fall, unleashing a humanitarian crisis. Afghanistan's central bank last week had criticized Washington's plan to use half of the bank's $7 billion in frozen assets on US soil for humanitarian aid and set aside the rest to possibly satisfied lawsuits over the 9/11 attacks. People believe if the United States releases all the frozen funds, then they can hope for change in their present condition and can even have a better future.
آینده ما پیشبینی عالی که پیشبینی میکنیم گفتم که امارت اسلامی را اگر به رسمیت بشناسه پول ما آزاد شود خوب پیشبینی میکنیم اگر نه که نشناسه امارت اسلامی را اگر پول ما آزاد نشود ما آینده را در بدری فکر میکنیم.
The US freezing of Afghan central bank's assets is widely seen as the primary factor leading to the current economic crisis and humanitarian disaster in the war-torn country of some 39 million people. Some $9.5 billion in Afghan central bank reserves remain blocked abroad, and international development support has dried up since then. Donors have sought to use the money as leverage over the Taliban on issues including human rights.
بازای ما از امارت اسلامی همی است که ما امین نواقص یا مشکلاتی که در امارت اسلامی وجود داشته باشه باید اول یار رفع کنه. بزرگترین مشکلی که در امارت اسلامی وجود می داشته باشه مثلا ما قبلا گفتم که از تمام اقوام افغانستان باید به مثل برادر به مثل یک هموطن بپذیرند.
Last month, Afghanistan's acting Prime Minister called for international governments to officially recognize the Taliban administration, saying all conditions had been met. Taliban officials have said they will not repeat harsh rule of the previous Taliban government, toppled by US-led forces in 2001, which banned the most girls' education and forbade women from going out in public without a male guardian. The world, however, is taking Taliban's claims with a pinch of salt, and is hesitating to help unless the situation improves at all levels in the country, especially against the terrorist groups, which they fear might resurge if the Taliban have sufficient money in their coffers.